Hey, everybody, we are back with another What Would You Change movie podcast. I am Loki here with Monkey Feathers and Papa Nugget. How's everybody doing?
What's up?
I'm
Pretty
doing
good.
This week we continued our Nicolas Cage festival. This time we went with Gone in 60 Seconds, a classic movie from 2000, 20 years old at this point. One I love from my youth, so maybe my perception's a little bit slanted, a little bit nostalgic. It, of course, stars Nicolas Cage, Giovanni Ribisi, Angelina Jolie, T.J. Cross, and I believe one of his only movies. Scott Conn is in it, James Duvall, Will Patton, Delroy Lindo, Timothy Oliphant, Chi McBride, Robert Duvall, Christopher Eccleston, Vinnie Jones. Probably 4 or 5 other people that you'd recognize.
I think it's Michael Pena, the guy from
Michael
Batman?
Pena is in it. Also a confirmed connection to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So Gone in 60 Seconds is a Marvel movie. Keep that in mind.
Yes.
He plays pretty much his character out of Ant-Man. So it's... Yeah.
Pretty much.
He's in it for like all of 2 seconds. So... But it was kind
But
of
you
a...
still recognize him.
You still recognize him because he's recognizable now. So, yeah, it's directed by Dominic Sena, written by H.B. Halicki and Scott Rosenberg. If you don't know, it's the movie of a retired master car thief has to come back to the industry and steal 50 cars in one night to save his brother's life. So, lots of car chases, lots of crazy shenanigans. Unnecessary sparks flying in the backgrounds of scenes because it's a Jerry Bruckheimer produced, I guess it's 2000s, but still follows suit with the 90s action movies of Bruckheimer and Michael Bay and all those kinds of things. So what'd you guys think?
You
That
know
was
what?
mediocre.
Is that really your opinion? Just mediocre?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
So initially, the whole premise of the show seems really forced to me.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, okay, so, like, you lost all my cars, so you have to get them, or I'm gonna kill you. Like, it doesn't. It seems a way over the top to me. Like,
Yeah.
come on,
Right.
like. I mean, I'm sure they're trying to make him just seem like all crazy and like a lunatic and just like not make sense. Ooh, I'm so loose and crazy. What am I gonna do? Oh, you don't know. Like, but yeah,
Exactly like that. Ooh, you don't know.
Yeah.
It just goes around the whole scene like, ooh, you don't know.
So starting, like, I rewatched the beginning just to make sure I understood what the whole, like, why Memphis was coming back to help get his brother out of a jam, and that whole the whole concept of the movie just doesn't seem to work for me. And so
What did you like about it? If we're getting very specific, is there anything you liked about it?
I thought like the progression was okay. Like it's a very linear movie. It's not like, I mean, it's easy to watch, and it makes sense. It's not confusing really, other than the initial trying to understand what the whole premise of the show is. But so it's easy to watch. Scenes move pretty well from beginning to end, and honestly. And that's kind of another thing that I think it does it as a disservice. It almost just feels like almost an entire montage throughout the entire movie. Like it's like montage after montage of them like doing car things and stealing cars or preparing to steal cars or researching cars, and then the way that the music integrates, the music really stood out to me on this one. Both their choice of music and how it was added and used like throughout the scenes, and that's why it gave it this feel that like they always bring in the music to kind of amp up the excitement but it's like it was like that throughout the entire movie. So it didn't even see, it's like, are we getting into the movie or is this just before the movie's going to start? It almost felt like it was always just starting, but that's just how it went the entire time. And so the way that they used the audio in this was like it stood out in a negative way to me.
I like how when I ask you both, what do you like about the movie? You automatically degrade it into what you hate about the movie.
Well,
It's the natural progression of like, oh, I sort of like this, but I really didn't like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we're picking. We picked some winners out of these.
Oh yeah.
You know, Nicolas Cage does actually have some fantastic films we could have chosen. I don't think we chose his fantastic films. That's the thing. The thing I like about this is that ridiculous, over the top. It's very much a movie of its era, where that's what it was. It was the big music. I mean, they have the opening song is by Moby. I want to say it's the Black Crows. They kind of did the ballad that's in the middle of it and at the end. So, they were trying to kind of tie all of that stuff together where music and movies were part of a big thing.
And it really felt like, because of the music, you feel the era of when it was made.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much tied to that era.
Yeah. And that's another thing with, because I thought of this in the names of characters, Memphis Raines and Kip Raines and Sway and Tumblr and Atlee Jackson, right? They're all these, like, the way screenwriters thought people were named, not how anybody's actually named.
Well, yeah,
they sound very nickname-esque.
There's some of them that are nicknames, but there's a lot of them that's their name.
Yeah, you'd imagine
Angelina
that to
Jolie's
be a nickname,
character,
not an actual name.
She actually does have a nickname. Her character is actually Sarah Wayland, or Sway, and so that's the only one actually credited as having.
Well, Memphis is a nickname too.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's Randall. Randall.
Oh,
Memphis,
is that what it was?
Raines.
Yeah.
I missed that. I'm sure a lot of these are, but even the villain Raymond Calitri, like it's a foreign sounding name because he's the bad guy.
Yeah,
right? And that's the way Hollywood makes
foreign.
movies.
Ooh, so mysterious.
He's from London.
Well, is he from London?
Yeah.
Are we gonna be okay?
It was they specifically said he was arrested in London. So what struck out to me, the scene where Memphis and Raymond are meeting for the first time and they set the deal up as to what's going on. It's another interesting thing that screenwriters have done where there's two conversations going on that are kind of linked, but not really. Like he keeps saying, like, where's my brother? And the guy just goes off and starts talking about furniture and all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
But leading him somewhere. So you think, well, is he taking him to where his brother is? But he's having his own little monologue while he's being asked questions. And it's really strange. But it also is one of my favorite lines out of any movie is when he says, do I look like an asso? Do I look like an asso? Like, what the hell is an asso? I always thought that was the way that line is delivered is so. It's like somebody who's a British native British speaker trying to do an accent, and it's just I've always laughed at that. I've always thought that was hilarious. It's been one of my favorite.
So, is there anything in particular about this movie that you could say you really loved about it?
There's a lot. I like the car chases. I mean, that's why this movie exists. It's like the premise about all of it is how can we make car chases that are really cool and show a lot of really cool cars. But they didn't actually show a lot of really cool cars. They said the names of a lot of really cool cars, and then you kind of saw a silhouette of them. Yeah, you kind of saw a silhouette and those kinds of things. And so it felt a little bit like, well, this is a car show, but worse because you can't actually see the cars. But the final chase with the GT 500 is like a 30-minute car chase. It's broken up and but I think they did that really well with how they shot and edited that. It makes sense. It flows. Nothing seems jarring. Like all of a sudden they're going right and then they're going left, and you're like, they show all of those movements. And they pace that really well where they break it up with some slower moments. He gets away and then they find him again kind of things. I did really like that. I do just like the goofy, like it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like it knows what it is kind of a movie. I think this is one of those that is cheesy and hits the point, hits the mark at being cheesy. Like
Yeah.
they accomplished what they wanted to do. Because even some of these these actors who have been in amazing things are just over the top, and I think it works really well. Timothy Oliphant's character, one of the detectives, is just a prick to be a prick. Like, there's a scene where the wrecking ball hits the car hits the sheriff through the wall, and they're like, check and see if he's all right, and he's like, you okay? Because you just went through a wall. It's like,
Yeah,
you want to
his
make sure he's
character
alive,
didn't
not.
really- I didn't like that character.
Yeah,
You didn't like his character at all?
No.
yeah, he's.
Aw.
It didn't fit. Like it seemed like he
Some
was
of
like
his
some
moments.
rookie detective that like didn't know what he was doing, and it just seemed really jarring.
And I like that he kind of gets called on it a lot too.
Yeah.
Like Delroy Lindo looks at him and says, "Don't
It's
ever say anything
intentional.
about my wife."
It's intentional. Yeah.
Like,
but
yeah.
it's just I
It's-
don't know. I didn't really care.
I think
for
if he wasn't in the movie, it wouldn't have changed anything
It
about the
wouldn't,
movie.
nope.
Yeah, you wouldn't have even noticed. Like if you just cut him out completely.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of those characters that they're there for whatever scene they're in, but if they weren't in the movie, you wouldn't notice.
So then, Loki, because you really like this movie, is there anything you didn't like about it?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I didn't like. Car chases where they've got old cars because they're stunt cars. Those kinds of things stand out. I think that the entire movie was a gratuitous use of Angelina Jolie. I think she was only there because it was 2000 and she was Angelina Jolie. Like there wasn't, there wasn't a need to have her there. Like it was just, oh, hey, she's big, let's put her in a movie kind of a thing. And I think that takes away from some of the other, some of these people were more up and coming. Giovanni Ribisi at this point in time had done Saving Private Ryan and, a handful of other things, but that would be the only thing you would have known him from. And I think he does really well for the part. I did think that they did they did much better character development in this than in Passengers. I think the story in this is the bad of it, because it very much is just an excuse for car chases. But the characters, because the actors can play off of each other, they're much more believable in their over the top roles than I think when Passengers, the first movie we watched for this series, I didn't feel like those characters connected, where these ones I think they really did. It's cliche. I don't necessarily like any of those cliche things. I think Nicolas Cage was honestly the wrong person to cast in the role.
Who would you have cast instead?
I don't know who
you
I don't
think
know
would have
I don't know
played
who I would have
better?
cast instead. But this movie is very much paying homage to classic car movies, and so Steve McQueen comes to mind, especially with Mustangs. And Steve McQueen was cool, and Nicolas Cage seems like he's the car guy because it's what cool guys do, not because he's cool. It's because he's trying to be cool. And so I think that just stood out a lot, especially watching these two movies kind of back to back. These two, for those who didn't know, we also did The Wicker Man earlier. So, but I think I don't know who I would have cast that kind of embodies that same level of cool as like a Steve McQueen for that era.
You mean like Paul Walker and Vin Diesel?
I wouldn't have chosen them because there weren't any fins on any of the cars in this movie. I just realized there were no spoilers, which would have been the same era. When did the first Fast and the Furious come out?
2003, I believe.
I think it
Was
was
it?
just a little after.
I think it was
yeah.
2003.
2001.
Oh, wow.
So it would have been
There
the
you
year
go.
after. So
This movie did so well that they decided they wanted to make a similar movie.
yeah, I don't like the villains. I don't like the anti-heroes, right? I mean, these guys are all criminals, but you connect with them because they're the good criminals. But They
Yeah.
still did just go and steal 50 cars. I mean, I did love seeing Michael Pena in it for all of 2 seconds.
Yeah. I forgot that he was in it the first time that I saw it.
I was surprised when he popped up.
Yeah.
It was the same with The Social Network when we saw that, where seeing Dakota Johnson in it after her, now her success
yeah.
from 50 Shades of Grey, to where I completely forgot that she was in it the first time I saw The Social Network. And so it's just interesting going back to these films, having seen them, 10, 15 years ago, and now, oh yeah, that person was in this movie.
So what's crazy is his character actually got a name, Ignacio.
Oh, look at that.
The other one is, I'm assuming, is Thug and Gangbanger number 2. So
It matters.
I shouldn't like this movie, but I do, because I think a lot of it's nostalgia. But even as a kid, when it first came out and we got it on DVD, I mean, we watched it fairly regularly just because it was over the top fun. I just think it came out of that era when that's what I was looking for. So
then anything in particular for either of you that you would want to change in this?
I would probably make the story a little bit better. Again, I would switch out the main character. I think Nicolas Cage doesn't fit the cool car guy role. I mean, I know he is that in real life. That's why he's gravitated towards roles that have that, like Flame and Skull. Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
Yes, he was Ghost Rider, not Knight Rider. That was, yeah.
Isn't that David Hasselhoff?
David Hasselhoff.
Isn't that the one about the car?
Yeah, with the talking car.
Yeah.
Principal Feeney, or whatever his name is from Boy Meets World. It's the voice of the car. Getting sidetracked.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I definitely would have swapped him out. But I think if you chose like popular at the time, I mean, it would have been Keanu Reeves. But I don't think that would have fit. I think that would have felt like Speed again, but not. Like,
it's different. He's not trying to save a bus. He's trying to steal 50 cars. It's different.
One thing I absolutely would leave in the movie is when they're stealing cars from the police impound, and they've got to distract the attendant there from the screens, and he pulls out a Barbie doll randomly and that.
She's a brick house.
Just why that was even a thing. But I would absolutely leave that in for sure, no matter what.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, I don't think it's one I've ever thought about long enough to actually think of things I would change. Like as much as I have with some films. It'd be interesting to see if they were to update this one to do a remake, because it is 20 years later. I'm sure it's on the docket somewhere. Someone's thought of it. Just to see the updated cars, because it is interesting to see, like, oh, this is the brand new Mercedes with the laser cut keys that can't be stolen and yada yada yada. And you look at those cars now and you're like, yeah, that's garbage. Like,
now it'd be, oh look, it's the brand new Toyota Prius.
Yeah.
That'd be what they're stealing.
So I don't know.
Toyota Prius. What about you, Nugget? What would you change? Because you didn't really like this movie. So
I didn't say I didn't like it. I said it was mediocre.
Okay.
It's definitely one of those movies that, like, you can get in, you can watch. It's easy to watch, and it's not terrible. Like you don't leave feeling like I just wasted 113 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
And that's really what they're focused on is just the action in the movie. Like, the plot's not very deep, which I think for this movie is probably it's okay. It works, I guess. But yeah, it's not like, this is definitely not going to be a movie that, like, I'm gonna, like, go back to and ever, like, really want to watch. Like, and I know I enjoyed it much more back in 2000 when I watched it when I was much younger. Back then, watching it now, it felt like a movie from 2000.
Yeah.
and so I don't think it's going to age well at all. And so unless you have some nostalgic connection to it, most people are probably not going to enjoy it.
Specific. That felt like you were talking to a very specific person.
Hey, you know what? After some of the more serious subjects we've covered in movies recently, it's kind of nice to shake it up with something a little bit more
fun.
Simple. I should say lighthearted, but just simple, mindless.
Fun and simple.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, a movie's good. It doesn't have to change the world. It just has to be a distraction for a little bit.
And I think this movie does that.
Monkey Feathers, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I do like the movie. We just barely talked about Fast and the Furious, and I know a lot of people give that series, you know, some flack, but you know, it's simple movies where you don't have to think or worry about where a plot's going. You can just sit and enjoy it. You know, it's like I'm like a child where you just like wave keys in front of shiny things, and my attention goes right to it. So I mean, I like the movie. The only thing that, like, right away, I would say that I would change about it is how the movie started. The whole reasoning behind, is it Kit or is it Kip?
Kip.
Kip. Okay. The whole thing where he tries to race someone in a stolen car and then gets busted by cops, or like things just everything with how that happened. I don't believe that if these people were stealing cars over like a set period of, you know, days, I don't believe that he would be stupid enough to just decide, oh, I'm going to throw a rock through a dealership and steal a car that way, and then I'm going to race someone in the stolen vehicle, and then I'm going to bring, you know, this car back to where our hideout is, where we have all these other cars, and hope that no one follows us.
Well, and then when the police officers get there and they're like, they're all professionals, no damage done, and it's like, these guys aren't professionals, they're just winging it. Like, yeah. So the whole premise of this is these guys are winging it, so they have to bring the professional back out of retirement.
Yeah. So I think if they just, you know, rewrote the beginning of it and just made it better in how to bring people back in, like maybe they did get burned and one of the people or like several of the crew got busted, and so now they're in jail or something, and then they have to bring in the old crew to finish the job.
Or they had an informant on their team or something.
Or something just to make it seem a little more logical. Because like I said, I don't imagine this guy who's been stealing cars, you know, the past couple of days or weeks or however long they've been stealing these cars. I really don't want to believe that he's stupid enough to just decide, oh, I'm going to race this guy in this stolen car and then get cops notice, because that's what happens. But
they try and make him out to be like he doesn't know what he's doing throughout the entire movie. Like,
well, he doesn't. But he's had some success because they did steal some cars.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of a mixed bag on that, because there are times where they very much make the younger crew seem really dumb, but then also capable.
Yeah.
You know, but
like they have skills,
the only time,
but they're not experienced enough to like be able to pull it off with smartly or with finesse.
The opening scene, although, is the only time the police do anything competent, because the helicopter tracks them back to their little hideout by staying high up, because there's a scene later on where they're racing through the LA River where the helicopter comes down pretty much on top of him.
And it just magically appears out of nowhere. Yeah. It's like, bam, you got a helicopter right there.
Yeah. And then he just drives away and they're like, well, we lost him. And it's like, no, you fly up, you can see him no matter where he goes. That's the point of the helicopter. So
no, I think just that is the main thing, because overall, you know, it's a simple movie that I, you know, relatively like. I just think that if they rewrote the beginning part of it, I would have liked it more, because then it would have made a lot more sense instead of just, here's this random scenario and now we have to bring in the old crew. So that's my thought.
Yeah. Well, anything else you guys want to say about it?
It's mediocre.
I will say this. Seeing Giovanni Ribisi again always reminds me of the time that he dances in the movie Ted. So if you haven't seen that, go look it up. It's fantastic. It's when I typed his name into YouTube, it's the first thing that came up. Giovanni Ribisi dancing in Ted. It's he's dancing to the I Think We're Alone Now. It's I think his best performance ever. So make sure you check that one out. And then let us know in the comments what you thought of Gone in 60 Seconds. What we should watch next. What we should avoid, which would always be nice. And then do all the.
I was going to say, I think even if you tell us to avoid it, we'll probably just end up watching it to see why you say avoid it.
Probably.
And then give a reason.
Probably.
Like, oh yeah, no, you were right to avoid it for these specific reasons.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Let everybody know about it. And we'll catch you in the next one. Remember, you're awesome.